Donald Trump's impeachment trial begins in earnest in the Senate on Tuesday in a rare use of the constitutional mechanism for ousting a president that has only deepened the polarization of US voters ahead of presidential elections due in November. Democrats have called on the Senate to remove the Republican president from office, describing him as a danger to American democracy and national security. Trump and his lawyers have decried his impeachment, saying that he's done nothing wrong and that Democrats are simply trying to stop him from being re-elected. The televised trial is expected to hear opening arguments in the Republican-controlled Senate this week, and votes could possibly take place as early as Tuesday. This will be on the rules governing the trial. This would include deciding whether the Senate should at a later date consider subpoenas for witnesses, such as Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton. The chamber's 100 members must decide whether to convict Trump on charges approved by the Democratic-led House of Representatives on December the 18th. This was accusing him of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress arising from his dealings with Ukraine. All right, so for more now on this issue, let us speak to our US Correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease. Sherwin, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming through. So just give us that understanding as to how this process will unfold, more so a debate really over the rules.
Yeah, it's a great way to start, Palesa, because this is only the third impeachment trial of a sitting United States president in the history of the United States. So there are a lot of unknowns as to how this Senate trial will unfold. The most recent reference point is that we have the Senate trial of Bill Clinton in 1999. But as you correctly point out in that introduction, Senate Majority Leader, the Republican Senate Majority Leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, releasing his proposal of the rules that will be adopted by the Senate. So essentially, we start today, Tuesday here in the United States, by what should be a raucous debate in the Senate as to the proposal made by the Majority Leader as to how this Senate trial will unfold. And I can just quote some of the words that are coming out of the Republican caucus. Words such as cover-up, sham, national disgrace, and appalling ambit by the Republican Party, a farce, according to Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, basically berating the proposal made by McConnell. Essentially, 3 points I want to highlight for you, Palesa. McConnell is proposing that opening arguments from both sides be done within a 24-hour period, so essentially 12-hour days for opening arguments from both the impeachment managers who will prosecute this case in the Senate and then President Trump's defense team. The second point, all evidence, this is what McConnell is saying, all evidence admitted will require a majority vote in the Senate. Remember, Republicans have the majority. What McConnell is proposing now is that all evidence gathered in the House impeachment inquiry must be voted on each time it can enter the record of this trial in the Senate. This has made Democrats balk at this proposal. And he's also giving Republicans the option to bring a motion to dismiss the entire case before opening arguments are made. So these are the three sticking points that we will see debated in the Senate today in terms of that resolution to adopt the rules for how this trial process will play itself out.
Right. So would one be correct to say, Sherwin, that it looks like Republicans and the Democrats are sort of bracing for an initial battle really over witnesses and perhaps other measures that will most certainly fracture the Senate along party lines on day one?
Yeah, this is an important battle at the beginning of this trial because the rules, once adopted, will then be applied. There's a great deal of concern that if this rules resolution doesn't include, for example, the possibility of calling witnesses, you know, the Democrats want 4 fact-based witnesses to be called to testify, including Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, the acting White House chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, and 2 of his associates. They want them to come and present the facts. And there's a great deal of concern that if the Republican majority, all you need is a simple majority to pass these rules, If they succeed today, then they will be limited in terms of their options down the line because the rules have been adopted. Whether it has Democratic support or not, Republicans have the majority and the ability to push this through. What Democrats talk about is that this is an election year and a number of Republican senators in moderate districts, sort of conservative with Democrats in those districts, stand a chance of being voted out of office if they are not seen to be rendering impartial justice in the Senate trial. Remember, each senator had to take the oath of office. All 100 senators had to take the oath of office administered by the Chief Justice, John Roberts, last week, where they pledged to administer impartial justice. So a great deal of political theatre that we are looking forward to today in terms of just the rules, not even the trial itself, just the adoption of the rules. So very much to your question, yeah, absolutely, battle lines will be drawn today.
All right. So we understand, Sherwin, that Congress has told Donald Trump's top impeachment lawyer that he's a material witness in the trial and must, at the very least, disclose all evidence before the commencement of the proceedings. What does this mean? Because my understanding is that the ethical rules generally preclude a lawyer from acting as an advocate at a trial in which he's likely also a necessary witness.
Well, the White House defense team is packed not just with one lawyer, but with multiple lawyers. They include the White House counsel, Pat Ciglione. It also includes the special counsel that actually prosecuted the case against Bill Clinton in the 1999 trial. Kenneth Starr is now on the defense of the president. His team also includes Harvard professor Alan Dershowitz, famous for his defense in the O.J. Simpson trial and also for defending Mike Tyson in his criminal trial. So it is less material as to whether a particular lawyer, for example, Giuliani, if he were to be included in the president's defense team, the personal lawyer very much involved in the facts of this case, but has not been named as one of his defense attorneys. I don't think it will be too difficult for a recusal or for him to step aside if he were to be brought in onto the team, given the breadth that the president has on his team already. It also includes a number of House defense lawmakers who will, from the Republican side, you'll remember that the House managers are appointed by Nancy Pelosi. They come from the House of Representatives. They will be the prosecutors in this trial. The president yesterday also naming a number of Republican lawmakers to bolster his defense attorneys in their defense of the president in his trial. So the president has a lot of options here. It's not too critical to have a particular person. In the case of Rudy Giuliani, who is also particularly involved in sort of the aspersions that have been cast here against the president.
All right, Sherwin, that's where we'll leave it for today. Thank you so much for that update. Our US Correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease. This, of course, is a developing story that we're keeping a very close eye on here on the SABC News channel. Do stay with us here on the channel for more in relation to Donald Trump's impeachment.